St. Patrick's Day. Is it just a drinking holiday? What is it actually about? And who was St. Patrick? Is he even a real guy? Let's talk about it today on Your Daily Dram. And while there are many misconceptions about St. Patrick and his day, we can think of, it seems in modern days, it's just a drinking holiday. We know Irish pubs and pubs that aren't Irish open up at 7 in the morning and people are drinking all day long. We got Green Rivers in Chicago and we've got green beer and all sorts of crazy things. But what does it actually stem from? We've got Irish whiskey today. We've got Guinness stew. We've got all the fun things. And all of those are fine. Celebration is a fantastic thing. But where does it actually all stem from? Well, Patrick actually was a real boy, and he was born in Britain to somewhat religious parents, but he was not raised strictly religious and wasn't the highly educated young man. At 16, he was kidnapped and taken captive to Ireland, where he was a slave for several years. He eventually had a vision, a dream about being freed, or not really, but about escaping. And so he convinced some sailors to let him board their ship as they were leaving the island, which they did. That ship got abandoned and he wandered at sea for a while, but eventually made his way back to France. During his captivity in Ireland, he did convert wholeheartedly to Christianity. Once he arrives in France, he joins the priesthood and begins to formally study Christianity. Eventually, his teacher sends him to Ireland as a missionary, and he returns to the place of his captivity, a story of forgiveness, of second chances, and redemption. There are myths that are around St. Patrick, like that he drove all the snakes off the island. That simply isn't true. That is folklore. Snakes were long gone from the island way before St. Patrick arrived. One of the other stories that is told is that he taught the people of Ireland about the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Spirit, by using the three-leaf clover, which is the symbol we so commonly associate with the Irish. We don't know, we don't really have verifiable proof that that is true. We don't know that it's not true. But what we do know is that he was a real person who was kidnapped and taken captive as a slave in Ireland for many years in his teenage years. He escapes, he converts to Christianity prior to his escape, studies formally, gets sent back to Ireland as a missionary, and again tells us a phenomenal story of forgiveness and redemption and second chances. That, I think, is how we should remember St. Patrick, even in the midst of all of our other celebrating. Now, he's been celebrated for thousands of years. The first known parade was in the early 1600s in what we would today call St. Augustine, Florida, a Spanish colony. Today, New York boasts the largest St. Patrick's Day parade with over 2 million people attending annually. We know all the events, and there's fine reason to celebrate. But let's remember the story, the person, and what it represents. Forgiveness, redemption, second chances. That's a reason to raise our glass of a nice Irish whiskey, or maybe a Guinness. Maybe you turn on a little U2 or read Bono's book, little excerpt, whatever it is you do. Let's not miss the bigger picture of the person that St. Patrick was and what he did in the midst of the hardships of his youth to turn those around to save a people. I think it's a good story. I think it's worth a dram. Cheers.